Greetings programs, welcome to episode 2. So today is going to be a little bit different. I don't have a script because writing out a script is a massive pain in the ass. So we're just having bullet points. Also, if I sound a little weird, it's because I've got a horrible cold, and so I'm trying to talk differently so I don't have a coughing and spluttering fit. So sorry about that. So on with the show. What is atheism? So today's episode involves atheism in general and me in specific. So why is my name the Antediluvian Atheist? Shouldn't it be Antipodean Atheist, given that the picture is like Australia down the bottom and New Zealand off to one side? Well, in short, I call myself the Antediluvian Atheist, partly because there's already an Antipodean Atheist out there, but mainly because, well, I am antediluvian. I predate Noah's flood, as listed in the Bible. I was born before the flood. Have I gone insane? No, the flood hasn't happened yet. So obviously everybody was born before the flood of Noah in the Bible, and so was I. Plus, I thought it sounded cool. So there we go. Where am I from, and what's with my accent? This is part of our housekeeping thing. Hey Chelsie, I redid my hair recently, and that's my old hair that you're looking at in the picture. It's now even more rainbowy. I'm growing it out. I got annoyed with it, and I'm growing it out. So yes, but I also made it more rainbowy, and if I can manage to get somebody to take a photo, I will put the photo up. But anyway, as from me, because Chelsie asked about my accent and so forth, it's a little weird. I'm from Barnsley in South Yorkshire in the UK. I should also add that while I grew up in the UK, I now live in New Zealand, so this has added to the weirdness of my accent. Barnsley, in case you don't know, and nobody does, is sort of close to the hills, the Pennines. I think being in South Yorkshire and being up in the hills, I guess people from Barnsley would be the UK equivalent of hillbillies. And it's reasonably close to Wales. I think on one side of the hills it's all Welsh names with W's and V's in strange places and vowels you never heard of, and on the other side it's all boring English words, so hey. But that whole area is kind of interesting because there's a new accent every 50 kilometres. Seriously, people from South Yorkshire just can't even understand people from North Yorkshire, and that's only like a few k's away. So there you go. And it's an old country. We've got churches there that predate most other countries, and it has old languages. So anybody who was wondering what was with Lord of the Rings and Sam calling rabbits conies and so forth, that's kind of a oldie languagey thing, like old English type stuff from way back. And the old folks where I grew up, they used to talk like that. So anyway, on to the rest of the show. So what is atheism then? Well, every channel seems to have one of these, hey, what is atheism really? Episodes, and so I figured I would have my bit as well. So the label for atheism must include all positions, otherwise the label itself has no use at all. Now there's a lot of different variations on what is an atheist really, and this is my take. Atheism is at its core just the lack of a belief in gods. That's it. Now, somebody who goes around saying there are absolutely no gods, I'm totally certain of it, is also an atheist because they lack a belief in a god. They're also certain that there isn't one. There are various philosophical positions. I believe Steve McRae of the Non Sequitur Show has a detailed philosophical position on what atheism really is. But essentially, it's just a label. So anybody who doesn't actively believe in a god, that actively runs around doing things like doing miracles and talking to people and finding car keys and stuff, if you believe that, then you're a theist of some kind. And if you don't, you're not, which would make you an atheist. That's it, really. There are a lot of different labels, like strong atheism versus weak atheism, and that also comes on the heading of people who don't believe in gods, but they're just labels. There is no right way to use the label. It's simply, this is a way I describe myself, or this is the way this other person describes themselves. So rather than getting into fights over what the word atheism really means, I find it better to just describe what I mean by it, and if you want to call it something else, that's fine. You can call it that. I don't really care. I'm not attached to the label. The issue is, what do I actually believe, and are you representing my beliefs correctly? So in my case, I do not believe. Now, I am an agnostic atheist in regards to the concept of gods in general, and Gnostic about some gods. So while I can't rule out the possibility that there might be something like a god out there in the huge wide universe, I can say that some gods that have been sufficiently well defined, and this is probably why people are very wishy-washy about defining gods, those gods can be shown to exist or not exist. So for example, while you can't rule out absolutely the concept that there might be some near magical superpowered creator being out there in the universe, you can say that the god that sent the flood that covers the entire world unto the highest mountain, that god categorically does not exist. Why? Well, it's very simple. We have solid evidence that it didn't happen. That's it. So if you check out Aaron Ra Disproves the Biblical Flood series, he goes into great and solid detail. But in short, if the flood had happened, there would be a load of evidence. We don't find the evidence, ergo evidence of absence. More to the point, there are several ancient cultures that lived right through it and didn't die, and they didn't write down anything about a flood, and all the evidence that we would expect isn't there. So not only do we not have evidence of flood, we have evidence that it didn't happen. Ergo, the God that sent the flood does not exist. Now, atheism itself is simply to deal with belief. Do you believe in a God? And there's also deism, which is, I believe in a sort of a God that probably created stuff and then buggered off. Harder to deal with, but then you have that whole, well, what is the point of it? Because if God created the universe and then doesn't interact, who cares? The universe as it is now doesn't have a God in it, so you might as well be an atheist. I'm not sure what the effective difference is. I should insert something here about agnosticism. Atheism is about belief, agnosticism and Gnosticism are about knowledge. So an agnostic is somebody who doesn't claim to know. So I don't claim to know there's no God. I don't claim to know there is a God. And theism and atheism are about belief. I believe there's a God. I don't believe there's a God. So back to me. So I'm agnostic about the possibility of some godlike being, though it does seem to be highly unlikely, because we would expect some form of evidence that we do not see if there was some kind of superpowered creator being running around doing stuff. And there is evidence of absence against the idea of God. God, as demonstrated or described by most extant religions, is too big not to be found, especially if we take the standard description of the Christian God, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, knows everything, can do anything, yada yada yada, made the universe and so forth. Well, we would expect to find quite a few things if that were true. For example, we wouldn't be able to see anything that was 6,000 light years away because the light wouldn't have reached us yet. Because theoretically, or at least so we're told by believers, that's when the universe was created. And if that was true, then we would not see anything further away. But we don't. We see things from the billions of light years away. Explosions in other galaxies. And therefore, the light has been travelling for that length of time. Ergo, the universe is more than 6,000 years old. And we can be reasonably confident about some other things. For example, we're solidly confident that there is no such thing as magic, and thus any being that relies on supernatural things like magic almost certainly does not exist, with quite a degree of confidence. So we can say that some gods do not exist, and we can say that we can be confident that, say, for example, the Christian God does not exist. Not just that we don't have evidence for them, this is true, but that we can be confident that they don't exist to the same degree and for the same reasons that we can be confident that leprechauns don't exist, because sooner or later we would have found the evidence, and we don't. So, absence of evidence is evidence of absence. It's not proof, but it is reasonably good evidence, and I will include a link down below. Footnote number 1. So, what else? Are we done? Well, nearly, but not quite. So, we've talked about what atheism must be and various definitions of atheism, and I've put my position out there. But there's also what atheism is not. Now, if you've ever had an argument with a theist, or you are a theist, people will be telling you that atheists are this and atheists are that, and that the worldview of atheism can't account for bloody bloody blah. Well, this is true. Mainly, atheism isn't a worldview. Everybody has a worldview, and if you're an atheist, you'll have one too. But atheism is a response to a question about God beliefs, and you said no. Do you believe there's a God? No. Okay, you're an atheist. That's all there is to it. It's not a worldview. So yes, it is hollow in that it doesn't bring you comfort. So all the theists out there are saying, oh, atheism brings no comfort, unlike my beliefs. And it's like, yes, it doesn't bring you comfort, but then it wasn't designed to. It's simply a response to one question. Is there a God? I don't think so. Or no. That's it. Now your worldview can incorporate that, but atheism itself is not a worldview. It doesn't need to be. You'll find that a lot of skeptical atheists will have humanism as their declared worldview or some variation on it, and they will also include I don't believe in a God, but I don't believe in a God isn't in itself a worldview. It can carry some implications, but it's just a response to one question. And also, a lot of believers will say that atheists believe that nothing exploded and created everything. No. Atheists are not required to believe anything, except not God. So if you believe in a God, then you're not an atheist. If you don't believe in a God, you're an atheist. What else you believe on top of that, that's a whole other question. So whether something did or did not explode out of nothing and create everything is irrelevant to the question of, is there a God? Plus, that's kind of a straw man. And I have been a member of a local skeptic society, and we did have, and we were all atheists, as well as being skeptics in theory, and it was all fine, except I think our first or second meeting, after everybody had said hello, one of the members up and said they believed in psychic powers, and that they had these psychic powers, which was very non-skeptical. And there was talk about magic and stuff, but not God. So clearly you don't have to believe in, I don't know, rational scientific things in order to not believe in a God. You could even believe that God created the universe and still be an atheist. You could believe that there was a God-like being with the power to create the universe. It created the universe, and in the process of doing so, died. So there is no God, you don't believe in that God, you don't worship that God, but you still think that God created the universe. Unlikely, but possible. So atheism isn't a thing, it's just an umbrella term, like human being. What do humans believe? Well, ask a human, but individually, just about everything. Or just about anything, I should say. So that's it for today. Next week, episode 3, a sense of awe as an atheist. And later on, I'll be doing some more deliberately atheistic stuff. Episode 5, perhaps, why there is no God, where we can take this one step further and show that not only is there no evidence for a God, there is evidence to suggest that no, there is no God. Anyway, I'll see you then. Bye for now.